and welcome. Today we are talking about the companion read for the May Flowers Read-Along. This was chosen for anyone who maybe wanted something that was slightly shorter or different than The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton, which was the main community pick. I'm really glad that the Bookshop Ladies by Faith Hogan ended up becoming part of this read-along experience. I finished it here at the Botanical Gardens and really enjoyed it. So today is going to be part reading vlog, part spoiler discussion, and just part book club type chat. I also wanted this video to be a place for all of you who did pick up this alternate read to be able to discuss it together in the comments, either with me or with each other, since our live stream conversations this month will probably focus on the Forgotten Garden. All right, I have found a shady spot under this beautiful tree that has these limbs hanging down over. I feel like I'm just in this little tree cave. And I thought that I would sit here and talk to you about my thoughts of the Bookshop Ladies by Faith Hogan. I came to this botanical garden so that I could sit and finish this under the wisteria and then find a quiet place to talk with you about it. So this was the second choice for the May Flowers Read-Along. While we have the YouTube lives for The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton, this was the second place as far as the poll votes. And since it is slimmer, I wanted to give people an option to choose this one instead of the community read-along, but also to give you a place to discuss your thoughts. So I figured coming to a botanical garden and finishing this book, and then I will do sort of a deep dive, my thoughts on this, and share kind of my experience reading it. And then you can put comments below. We'll just make sure to let people know that there will be spoilers. So this starts out with a pretty traumatic event, which is Joy and Eve, her French husband, are driving home from Eve's retirement ceremony, and they end up getting into a car accident. And her husband, Eve, tragically loses his life. But before he passes away, he kind of comes out of it and lets Joy know, his wife, that he has a daughter that he had not ever told her about, and that she was not aware existed, or even should have. And so right as her husband passes away, Joy realizes that that there is infidelity in their marriage that she was never aware of. So in addition to the grief that she's experiencing over the loss of her husband, she is also grieving their marriage. She discovers, as she's going through his things 6 months later, we have this big time jump, that he has bequeathed this painting that she has not ever really liked. It's very morose. He's bequeathed it to someone named Robin. And rather than have it curried over to Ballycove, Ireland, she decides that she's going to take it herself. And she's pretty convinced that this is actually going to this woman that he had had an affair with. Really quickly, Faith Hogan's books that she has, at least the ones that I'm aware of, she seems to set them all in Ballycove, Ireland, or at least most of them. The thing that's nice is they're not part of a series. You can just pop in and out of them. However, you might see some other characters. I know that in the Bookshop Ladies, I saw a couple ladies from the Ladies Midnight Swimming Club, another book of hers. But for the most part, there are no spoilers that I'm aware of, but just set in Ballycove, Ireland is lovely. Once there, she realizes that Robin is actually his daughter. She comes face to face with her. She looks like Eve. She has his mannerisms, and Joy chickens out. She cannot tell Robin, number one, that she has something for her from her deceased husband, and also cannot say that, like, she's kind of her stepmother. We do get more than one point of view. So it starts out with Joy, but then we jump into Ballycove and we get Robin's perspective and what's going on in Robin's life. Right now, Robin is experiencing unrequited love from her childhood friend named Cian. She loves him so much, and he really just doesn't see her the same way, but he's not very clear about it. It seems like he's kind of leading her on. She has purchased the local bookstore, and it is floundering. She is really kind of an introvert. She's not really comfortable with talking to a lot of people. And through her introvertedness, it just isn't really helping her to turn over sales. She's good at like organizing and, the book stock. She actually purchased the book stock from the previous owner in, what is like a good faith amount. Like nobody actually went and figured out how much the value was. They just said, hey, if you gave us $10,000 for the books, we'll call it even. And that's what she did. So she didn't even really know what she had, but she is running this bookstore, and she is like months away from losing the whole thing. And Albie, who is probably my favorite character in this whole book, he's this elderly man who ran the bakery. He's now passed it on to his son, just this sweet old man. He suggests to Robin that she get some volunteer help in, some like official help, and just, have it be somebody who just needs like an intern or needs, something to do but is okay with not getting paid. So Robin puts a sign out that says wanted. And at this point, Joy manages to get up the nerve to walk into the store. Robin thinks she's there for the position, and Robin hires her first employee, and it's Joy. So through all of this, we also meet Fern. Fern is Robin's mother. Fern is the woman who had a brief encounter or relationship with Eve, Joy's husband, which then resulted in Robin being born. Turns out Fern is an artist. Fern was the one who painted the painting. Fern had been working for Eve. He had been helping to sell her artwork to different galleries and get a show going, and that was how they kind of connected originally. We learn about Fern, and we also learn about her decision to not share about Robin's existence to Eve. It turns out that through just a random turn of events, Robin does meet Eve, and Eve recognizes immediately that it's his daughter. We also kind of learn about Fern's subsequent marriage to another French man who raises Robin. And in the beginning, when they meet, we like her husband, but as we move ahead into the present timeline, we learn that their marriage is really kind of like dissatisfactory. It's not really as emotionally connective as Fern would like. So we kind of go from there. Joy really spends most of the book feeling guilty about not telling Robin who she is. Robin goes through much of the book having feelings for Kian, who the feelings are not reciprocated. And Fern goes through much of the book dealing with ending her marriage. Is really kind of where Fern is at. As a side note, I also listened to the audiobook as well as reading it, just kind of switched back and forth. And I loved the audiobook narrator, but her American accent, I was always like, oh, that's an accent. So I didn't feel like fully immersed in the story when I was listening to it, because anytime she did Joy's American accent, it just was a little too flat somehow. And so it did kind of pull me out. So that's why I went back to just reading the physical book. If, that might not bother you, but for me, I preferred the physical book overall to the audio version. The thing that I like about this is there is a tiny bit of romance. I mentioned Albie, who's the older man who is a widow. His son is taking over the bakery. He's like kind of a little bit of a love interest. We're obviously wanting Robin to find someone other than Kian. So it's enough of a tease. Anyone who's interested in romance, there's enough there that you're like, oh, that's sweet. But it is certainly not the main part of this. This is very much a women's fiction kind of a story where we've got women friendships, mother-daughter, stepmother-daughter kind of relationships. This is kind of where we're going to get into spoilers. Eventually, Fern, after developing this friendship with Joy, she's seeing how much Joy is putting into Robin's bookshop, she realizes through a turn of events who Joy is. That she is Eve Barchon's wife, and that he is the father of Robin, and they all kind of are in on the secret. I think one thing that I am a little frustrated with is Fern's sort of indignation at Joy not telling her when she never told Robin who her dad was. And I also think that Robin really kind of handled it well for somebody who perseverates so much on these like intrusive thoughts. she really seemed to forgive her mother pretty easily. I do think that they should have had a scene where they had it out a little bit more. Otherwise, I really think that Joy handled it really well. I mean, Joy ended up apologizing. Fern actually mentioned to Joy earlier in the book that, you know, her regrets in life, and that is that she had been with a married man, especially since her own marriage is crumbling because he, her husband, was having an affair. Fern was probably the weakest character for me, or the most flawed, and the one that I found the most frustrated by. I really liked Joy. Robin was fine. Again, I loved Albie probably the most. I loved Albie and Joy's friendship. So she was like renting a room above the bakery, and of course Albie, because he had owned the bakery, he also was living in an apartment in there, and so they would like see each other, they'd have tea together. Just a really sweet relationship. Again, Joy never really divulged why she was there until it was just discovered. But I really don't begrudge that of Joy. I don't blame her at all for not telling it. It's not her issue that she discovered on her husband's deathbed that he had a daughter and never told anyone. So I do really think she had every right to divulge that in whatever way she felt comfortable. But certainly was a page turner. Fast read. I didn't think the pacing was off. I really love Valley Cove as a setting. At the end, there's this twist where it just kind of helps all of the romantic pieces fall into place. And I did like that. Again, I'm not a romance genre kind of a person. And so to just kind of have the end have this little plot device that kind of twists everything and like settles everything, I thought was really clever. A good way to just kind of keep everybody going, have a little bit of this like climactic situation that then has this satisfying denouement. So I thought this was a really great book. I cannot wait to hear what your thoughts are. I will put a post up in here on YouTube where you can put comments and kind of talk to each other, or you can leave it in the comments below here. Just your thoughts about it. Maybe let me know which character you most related to, or maybe liked the most, like I loved Albie. Let me know if you read this as part of the May Flowers read-along. If maybe you're also reading The Forgotten Garden, I would love to know. So be sure to leave all of that in the comments below. You guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your just involvement in the May Flowers read-along and the enthusiasm that we've had this month. I hope that you have been able to get outside to read in and amongst the trees and the blooms, whether it is fall where you live or spring. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.